All right, y'all. Top of the morning. Top of the morning. Hopefully everybody is doing well. It is Tuesday. It is New Year's Eve, and is so far it is actually looking really nice out here as far as weather. Doesn't feel like winter at all. It's a good day to actually work, even if it is a holiday. Hopefully everything going well in your circle and everything under that umbrella. I want to say that the live last night was awesome. If you want to check out the live, I'm gonna try my best, and I think I'm in a really good position to go live every day throughout the week as many times as I can. If something happens, I will let you guys know, at least for an hour or two. The live was great. We did Dreamcast HDMI, which turned out to be great. That little adapter is a phenomenal device, and it showed very good quality, and the gameplay was absolutely excellent. So had a pretty good discussion on there as well. So check me out live pretty much every evening around 8:30. I'm trying to go live every day, and I'll let you know if anything changes. So shout out to everybody who came through. Now, let's get to the topic that I want to talk about. Let's talk about Sega. I think their CEO, CFO, or whatever the case may be, I don't know his name. I didn't even read the article all the way. I just saw some of the bullet points because there's really not much explanation once you get the bullet points. Basically, Sega said they're not a retro company. Sega is not going to be doing any more mini consoles, so don't look out for a mini 32X or mini Saturn, mini Dreamcast. Those are out the window. They want to focus on modern games and have us play the new and updated games, or the new games that they're putting out. This is why they delisted a lot of games from Steam this month, and you can't buy those anymore. Now, this is why I said before, it is up to us to maintain preservation of these games. I think I talked about this in a video probably about a month or so ago. Shout out to Modern Vintage Gamer. He also talked about this, and I'm glad I'm not the only one that's really screaming at the top of my lungs about it, which I know everybody knows it, but I think we need to get the word out there to remind people or have it to the forefront that a lot of these companies, man, Nintendo, they want you to forget about retro stuff, but at the same time, they're willing to put their retro stuff behind a paywall and make you play their stuff via subscription, which is what Sega's going to do, which I'll talk about in a second. And it's very, the message is very clear. You just need to be in a position to preserve these games. Now, getting Genesis games, Master System games, SG-1000 games, those are pretty easy to find on the internet. That's totally up to you if you want to go that route and emulate them. It's also a way that, is pretty easy as well. Go out and buy the cartridges of the Genesis Master System SG-1000. I think SG-1000 is a little bit more scarce. Master System is a little bit, but Genesis games are everywhere. You can get any Genesis game that you pretty much want within a pretty decent price. There's a few that's expensive, and speaking of expensive, once you get into Saturn and Dreamcast, if you're a really diehard Sega guy or girl and you really want to collect or buy some of those games under the Saturn or Dreamcast, good luck, because it is gonna you're gonna pay. In some cases, the quality of some of these Saturn and Dreamcast games, especially Saturn games, aren't the best. So you really gonna have to look around to get what you want, especially if you're gonna start now. But nevertheless, there's ways to still get around that as well if you want to emulate those games as well. It's just that when you go to the cartridge-based games, you can get the entire library in some cases on a thumb drive, so it's really that simple to preserve the games if you want. Now, speaking of the subscription service, they say they're going to go that route for their retro games. Now, listen, I don't have a problem with a company doing what they're doing. It's up to me if I want to buy it. I could agree or disagree, keep my money in my pocket and move on. But don't expect that all the heavy hitters are going to be on the subscription service. Just like with Nintendo, in my opinion, it shouldn't be a subscription service, but even when you go look at Nintendo's online, excuse me, they don't have all the games that you would want. Like, there's some games that are on the Super Nintendo or the regular NES that are just not out there. And don't get me started with the N64 and where the hell is the GameCube games? You know what I mean? So it's a problem. So expect the same way to be with the Sega Genesis or the Sega subscription service. Master System and Genesis games will be on deck. Hell, they even got Genesis games on a Nintendo Online service, so you kind of know what you're probably going to get with that. I don't expect any Sega 32X games to be on this subscription service. I also don't expect maybe one or two Saturn games, I'm guessing. Maybe, and that's pushing it. Dreamcast, yeah, I don't see that either. Sonic Adventure has been out there. Sonic Adventure 2 is out there. Crazy Taxi is out there. That's cool. And they're supposed to be revamping these IPs anyway. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that for an updated, modern, era of gaming, or the new era of gaming, how those games are going to play out. But overall, man, it's nothing like playing Sega games back from the Genesis this Genesis and Saturn era. Or they're like fantastic, even though Saturn was kind of like a black horse, or dark, the redheaded stepchild of the bunch. It's still a phenomenal system, and that system would be very it'd be very beneficial for that system to be updated, because there's so many things you got to do just to play certain games with the RAM card and hooking up the system and making sure the memory is straight. It's a lot going on there, and I'm not even gonna get into the 32X. The Dreamcast, a lot of those games are, to be honest, they're can be easily ported over. It takes a little bit of work, but they can be easily ported over to any console. One thing about the Dreamcast, that the Dreamcast was very easy to develop for. It was very much the opposite of the Saturn. And the Dreamcast, I'm gonna be quite honest with you guys, it'll probably be better just to buy a Dreamcast. Now, Dreamcasts aren't that expensive. They're just not. They're not that expensive, and you can go and you can play games off that in like 3 or 4 different ways if you really wanted to get into Dreamcast, and it's very a very good console. I love it. I mean, hell, they even got GTA 3 on the console now, believe it or not, which I'm gonna try to get a copy of that, because I'm curious to see how well that runs, because nevertheless, at the end of the day, it's up to us, man. The CEO already spoken. He said that they're not going to be a retro company, and if you want to preserve these games, that's what you're going to have to do. And it is what it is, man. And I'm okay with it, because one thing I'll say before I get out of here: if you've been doing this for a long time, if you've been making content, well, I ain't gonna say making content, but if you've been collecting games for a long time, even if it's 5 years you've been collecting games, you kind of know how this goes once you get into the retro scene. You're not necessarily trying to you're not necessarily trying to wait for a company to reinvent the wheel and put these games out on modern platforms. If they do, that's great. But if you're a collector, you already know what you're getting into for the most part. And if you don't know what you're getting into, it just takes time. You will understand how this works. Going to certain game stores, looking on eBay, looking on Solaris Japan, what's the other one that they call Play Asia, going to any of these websites, DK Oldies, which I don't recommend, but you go to any of those places and you start to see, the eBays of the world. You start to see where how this market works. It's not hard to get into the market to start collecting, but it's actually difficult to manage going through the market, because there's so many things out here to buy, and you just have to be careful with just picking up stuff, because I'm just going down a whole nother route with this video, but you know what I mean. It takes a lot to know what you want to preserve and what you want to keep around, and in my opinion, the best thing to do is to know what you want to preserve and preserve it, because these companies now don't care. They're willing and able to delist and erase all of their great IPs and all their great games that's out there. I mean, outside of Sonic, you don't see much of anything else that they're doing. I mean, how many times Sonic 1, 2, and 3 has been ported to another console? when the PlayStation 6 and the next Xbox come out, and definitely probably when the next Nintendo Switch come out, those Sonic 1, 2, and 3 are going to be ported over, if not already backwards compatible with Sonic Origins. So yeah, it's up to us, y'all. I'm gonna get out of here. I can ramble all day, sitting here waiting to get unloaded on this truck once again. Just trying to make this money. And like I said, man, I'm gonna try to go live once again tonight. Probably play something a little more up to date. Not gonna go too retro. Probably take a step to the PS3, maybe a PS4 game, maybe even an Xbox Series game. I don't know yet. Just depends how I feel when I get home. We'll go live and start discussing more stuff in the gaming world. I appreciate y'all. Thank you guys for coming through and watching this video. I can't thank you guys enough. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good day. Peace.